I wasn't supposed to still be awake that night. The town had gone quiet hours ago, just the hum of the fridge and the wind sliding against the window. My laptop screen glowed pale on my desk, half-lit photos from the wedding I'd shot earlier. I'd been trying to edit, but her face kept showing up in the crowd shots. Always just behind someone else, slightly out of focus, like she'd been avoiding the lens on purpose. Clara. My best friend's sister. Twice my age, maybe more, but it never felt like that when she spoke. There was something about the way she looked at people, like she was still deciding whether to trust the world again. It was 1:03 when I heard the knock. Soft, 2 taps. Hesitant. At first I thought it was the wind, then another set came, firmer, closer. I opened the door, half expecting to see a delivery mix-up or a drunk neighbor. Instead, she was there. Standing under the porch light in a gray coat, hair damp from the mist, eyes wide like she'd been walking for a while. Clara? I said. She pressed a finger to her lips. Don't say a word. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it hit hard. She looked unsettled. Not scared exactly, just raw. She brushed past me and stepped inside before I could ask anything. The smell of rain followed her. I closed the door, and for a moment neither of us spoke. The clock ticked, the fridge hummed again. Her hand was still on the strap of her bag, like she might bolt any second. I couldn't stay there tonight, she said finally, her tone flat but trembling underneath. I didn't ask why. The way she said it, like the explanation would cost her something, stopped me. Instead, I offered her tea. She nodded, still standing by the window while I filled the kettle. I tried not to stare, but my eyes kept catching the small, quiet details, her fingers rubbing the edge of her sleeve, her lips pressed tight, the reflection of the porch light on her cheek. When I handed her the cup, our fingers brushed. She didn't pull away. Thanks, she murmured. You always were kind. Always were. Like she'd been thinking about me longer than I thought possible. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table. She didn't say much, and I didn't know what to say that wouldn't sound stupid. Every time I looked up, she was watching me, like she was searching for something, maybe permission, maybe forgiveness. She glanced around the room. You still take photos of everything, don't you? Yeah, I said. Can't help it. Makes things feel more real. Her eyes softened. Not everything should be. There was a pause, heavy enough that I almost forgot to breathe. Then, quietly, she smiled. Not the kind people give out of politeness, but the kind that slips out when they stop pretending. I hadn't seen her smile like that in years. You shouldn't have come here, I said before I could stop myself. I know, she whispered. But I did. Something shifted in the air, a pull neither of us named. Her coat was still wet, her hair sticking to her neck, and the sight made my chest tighten in a way I didn't want to admit. We both heard it then, a vibration on the counter. Her phone. A name flashing on the screen. She turned it face down without looking. Her eyes met mine. Please, she said softly, pretend you didn't see that. The kettle clicked, and the room filled with quiet steam. And for the first time that night, I realized neither of us was going to sleep. Clara sat on the couch, legs tucked beneath her, the blanket I'd handed her gathered around her shoulders. She looked smaller like that, not fragile, but folded in on herself. The tea sat untouched on the table, steam fading into the cold air. You want to tell me what happened? I asked finally. She shook her head. Not yet. The quiet stretched again. I sat opposite her, trying not to fidget, trying not to stare at the way her hair clung to her collar. She looked exhausted, like someone who'd run out of ways to keep her life together for everyone else's sake. I remembered being 16, sitting at her family's house with her younger brother, my best friend, watching her rush around in a paint-splattered apron, yelling at us for leaving pizza boxes on the counter. Back then, she seemed untouchable. Married. Busy. Someone who already had her world figured out. Now, that same woman was in my apartment at 1 a.m, eyes rimmed red, avoiding her phone. Did something happen with Mark? I asked, too careful. She gave a soft, bitter laugh. That depends. Does finally signing divorce papers count as something? Oh. It was all I could manage. She nodded slowly, tracing a line on her mug with one finger. I thought I'd feel free. Turns out, mostly I just feel noise. Empty rooms. Too much quiet. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words felt too small for the space between us. Instead, I leaned back, watching the rain start up again outside. She glanced at me. You're thinking too loud. Sorry. Don't be, she said, softer this time. You always were the kind one. There it was again, always were. Like she'd been keeping track. She exhaled. You shouldn't see me like this. Not you. Why not? Because you remind me of everything I used to believe in, she said, voice almost breaking on the last word. The confession hung there, heavier than anything I could answer. I tried to change the subject. I still have some of those old photos, you know. From your studio. The ones you made us take down because you said the lighting was terrible. Her lips curved faintly. Those were awful. They weren't, I said. You just didn't want to be looked at. That made her go still. A long, loaded pause, then she met my eyes. You see too much, she said quietly. Maybe you don't let yourself be seen enough. Her breath caught, barely noticeable, but I saw it. A single heartbeat where everything inside the room shifted. Outside, a car passed, throwing light across her face, highlighting the years, the sadness, and something else I hadn't noticed before, relief. She reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Her hand trembled slightly. You really shouldn't say things like that, she murmured. Why not? Because I might start believing them. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The rain softened. The clock ticked. Her eyes didn't leave mine. Then she did something small, but irreversible. She reached over and touched my hand, just for a second, her thumb brushing over my knuckles like a secret she wasn't supposed to tell. And when she pulled away, I could still feel her there. The next morning came slow and gray. Clara was still there, asleep on the couch, curled under the blanket like she hadn't really slept in days. The storm had passed, but the air still smelled like rain and coffee grounds. I stood in the kitchen, watching her breathe. The sight felt too intimate for something that wasn't supposed to mean anything. When she stirred, her first words were half a whisper. What time is it? Almost 9, I said. You were out cold. She stretched, then caught me looking. Stop staring, she said, though there was a faint smile behind it. Can't help it. Her smile faltered, the line between teasing and truth too thin to walk. She looked away, rubbing her forehead. You really shouldn't say things like that, Eli. Yeah, I know. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavier, like something was about to break. Then came the knock. 3 quick raps on the door. We both froze. Clara's eyes widened. Who's that? Before I could answer, a familiar voice called out, muffled through the wood. Yo, man, you up? Thought I'd grab my jacket. My stomach dropped. Her brother. I looked at Clara, her face had gone pale. She mouthed, don't say anything." I cracked the door, keeping my body between him and the living room. "Hey, yeah, come in." He stepped inside, scanning the place like always, easy grin on his face. "Didn't think you'd still be sleeping this late." "You look like hell, bro." "Didn't sleep much," I muttered. Clara stayed still behind the couch, hidden by the angle. I could feel her presence, the quiet tension radiating from the other side of the room. One wrong step and he'd see her. Her phone buzzed again on the table, the sound slicing through the air like a warning shot. His eyebrows lifted. "Someone here?" I swallowed hard. "Nah, just my alarm." He shrugged, oblivious. Grabbed his jacket, talked about a weekend trip, cracked a joke I didn't really hear. My heart was hammering too loud. When the door finally closed behind him, the silence that followed was deafening. Clara exhaled shakily. That was too close. I nodded. He would have lost it. She gave a humorless laugh. Understatement of the year. Her hand brushed her hair back, trembling slightly. "You shouldn't get dragged into this, Eli. I don't even know what I'm doing here." "Yes, you do," I said quietly. "You just don't want to admit it." She looked at me then, really looked. There was no pretense left, no careful distance. "I'm not supposed to feel this way," she said. "Neither am I." For a second, everything else disappeared. The air between us thinned, charged. She took a small step closer. I felt the warmth of her breath. Then she stopped, close enough to touch, far enough to pretend we hadn't almost crossed the line. Her eyes flicked to the door. "This can't happen." "Then why are you still here?" She didn't answer. Just reached out, fingers grazing my wrist, quick, electric, before pulling away again. "Because," she whispered, "I'm tired of pretending I don't want to be." And before I could speak, she was already walking toward the window, the faint reflection of both of us caught in the glass, too close, too uncertain. Outside, the sea wind picked up again, and the world felt suddenly smaller. For 2 days, Clara didn't come back. No messages. No calls. Just silence that pressed against the walls of my apartment until even the air felt like it was waiting. I tried to work, edited photos, cleaned, even went for a run, but everything looked like her. The shape of her mug on the counter, the blanket she'd left folded, the faint scent of her perfume that refused to fade. When the knock finally came again, it was harder this time. Urgent. I opened the door and she was there, eyes glassy, breathing uneven. "Clara," she brushed past me without a word, pacing the room like she was trying to outrun something invisible. "I can't do this anymore," she said. My throat tightened. "Do what?" "This," she snapped, then caught herself. "Coming here. Wanting to." Her voice cracked on the last word. I stayed quiet, watching the fight between what she meant to say and what she couldn't. She ran a hand through her hair, frustrated. "He called me. Mark." She nodded. "He said he's sorry. That maybe we should talk things through." And for one stupid second, I thought maybe he meant it. But he doesn't. He just hates losing control. She sank into the couch, face in her hands. "I don't even know why I came here." Again. I took a step closer. "Because you don't want to go back to pretending." She looked up at me sharply, eyes rimmed red, but clear. "And what am I doing here, Eli? Trading one mistake for another? That's not what this is." "Then tell me what it is." Her tone wasn't angry anymore. It was raw. Like she needed an answer just to breathe. I sat across from her, leaning forward. "You show up at my door in the middle of the night. You can't sleep. You talk about everything except what you really want to say. And then you leave before morning. You tell me what this is, Clara. She shook her head. Don't do that. Do what? Make it sound simple. It is simple, I said, too fast. You just don't want it to be. Her silence said everything. The clock ticked. The sea wind pushed against the windows. She stood, pacing again, hands gripping her coat like she needed to hold on to something. Then she stopped right in front of me. You don't get it, she whispered. You're young. You get to want things without thinking about the wreckage. I don't. That's not fair. No, she said, voice trembling, it's real. She turned away, but I reached out before I could stop myself, my fingers brushing her arm. She froze, then looked down at where my hand met her sleeve. Neither of us moved. I can't be the reason you regret something, she said. Then don't make me regret not saying it, I replied. Her eyes lifted to mine, a look so full of exhaustion, fear, and something dangerously close to love that it nearly broke me. For a second, I thought she'd lean in. Her lips parted, a breath, a thought, a maybe. Then her phone rang. We both stared at it. Same name on the screen. She whispered, don't answer it. But her hand was already reaching, the call stopped ringing, but the silence it left behind felt louder than anything that had come before. Clara's hand hovered over the phone for a moment longer, then dropped. The screen went black. She didn't look at me, just stood there, back tense, like she was bracing for something. I can't keep doing this, she said, her voice thin, trembling. Running here every time I don't know where else to go. You don't have to run, I said. She turned then, eyes shining, jaw tight. You think it's that easy? You think I can just start over? Forget the years, the mistakes, the people who'll never understand. I don't care what they think, I said, stepping closer. I care about you. Her breath hitched. Don't say that. I mean it. She closed her eyes, shaking her head. You don't know what you're saying. You're young, Eli. You think love fixes things. It doesn't. I laughed, but it came out rough. No, it doesn't. But maybe it's worth breaking a few things for. She looked up then, a flicker of something fierce behind the fear. You shouldn't say things like that. I know, I whispered. But I can't not. For a long second, neither of us moved. Just breathing, staring, both of us holding back words that had been sitting in the dark too long. Then she broke first. I spent 15 years in a marriage where no one looked at me like I existed, she said. And now you do, and it's terrifying. Because I don't know if I want to be found again. I stepped closer, slow enough she could stop me if she wanted to. Then tell me to stop. She didn't. Her shoulders shook as she whispered, you'll regret this someday. Maybe, I said, but not tonight. And that was it, the line we'd been circling for nights finally vanishing beneath us. She reached for me first, not with passion, but with something heavier, relief, fear, the need to feel real. My hands found hers, cold and trembling. We didn't kiss. Not yet. It wasn't about that. It was the weight of everything finally out in the open. When she pulled back, she didn't step away. Her forehead rested against mine. I don't know what this means, she whispered. Neither do I said. Maybe it doesn't have to mean anything right now. She gave a shaky laugh. You sound like someone who's never lost something he can't replace. Maybe I just found something I don't want to lose. Her hand came up, brushing the side of my face, gentle, final. Then promise me one thing, she said softly. What? When this falls apart, because it will, remember it didn't start as a mistake. The words hung there between us, fragile and true. She stepped back then, wiping at her eyes, trying to smile. The kind of smile that says I have to go before I stay. And as she reached for her coat, I didn't stop her this time. The door opened, a rush of cold air sweeping through the room. She hesitated, just long enough for one last glance, one last unspoken thing, before she disappeared into the morning light. The sea wind carried her name as the door shut behind her. And for once, I didn't chase after it. It's been 3 weeks since that night. The blanket she used is still folded on my couch. I keep meaning to put it away, but every time I touch it, it smells faintly like her shampoo, that quiet lavender scent that never asked for attention but lingered anyway. She hasn't come back. I didn't expect her to. At first, I tried to forget, threw myself into work, took long walks by the pier, pretended I didn't look for her car when I passed her street. But there's a difference between trying to move on and pretending you already have. Then, one afternoon, I saw her. She was standing outside the small art supply shop downtown, talking to the owner. Her hair was shorter now, wind tossing it across her face. She looked lighter. Like someone who'd finally decided she didn't owe anyone an explanation. I almost kept walking. I should have. But she saw me before I could disappear. For a second, I thought she'd look away. Instead, she smiled, small, unsure, but real. The kind of smile that made everything in my chest hurt in a good way. "Hey," she said when I got close enough. "Hey." Neither of us knew what to do with our hands. The wind filled the pause between us. "How's your work?" she asked. "Busy," I said. "Yours?" "I started teaching again," she said. "Even thinking about reopening the studio." "That's good," I said, meaning it. "You should." She nodded, eyes flicking up to mine. "You look tired." I laughed softly. "You too." For a moment, it almost felt like before, those quiet nights, the tea gone cold, the things we didn't say loud enough to ruin them. Then she said, "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For leaving the way I did. For not saying goodbye." "You didn't have to." "I did," she said gently. "You deserve that." We stood there, two people who had been too much and not enough for each other at the same time. And somehow, that was okay now. "I think I needed you," she said, voice low. "Not to fix me, just to remind me I was still worth being seen." I swallowed hard. "You were always worth that." She smiled again, that same quiet, devastating smile from the first night. "Take care of yourself, Eli." "You too." And that was it. No dramatic goodbye, no promises we couldn't keep. Just two people standing in the street, finally honest with themselves. As she walked away, the wind picked up, carrying her coat, her hair, the faint echo of her laugh. I didn't call out this time. I didn't need to. Some stories don't end the way we want them to, they end the way they have to. And maybe that's enough. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?